Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what I want to do is do a little mini fighting game like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. We'll call it JS Combat. Just to kind of illustrate how you would kind of do this kind of thing. So let's see here. I'm going to create a class, and this will be a fighter, someone who fights in the game. So we'll just do fighter. Okay, so that way we can set up our characters, and we have to set up how our characters are built. So our characters have a name, and they will have a special move, and that should be good for now. Okay, so we'll say this.name equals their name, and we'll say attacks. This dot let's say this dot moves, their moves, equals an array of objects, and I'm going to want a random number function. So I'm not going to do that in the class. I'll create that outside of the class. Random num equals. We'll pass in a high range of the number, and that's just going to basically return us math.floor math.random, invoke it, times the num that we're willing to make a random number up to. Okay, cool. So that'll get me a random number. Okay, cool. So this time moves. So our first move will always be punch. So name punch, and the effectiveness or the strength of punch will be random num 10. So it'll be a random number between 0 and 10. This way, every time we play out this game, it's a little bit different. Okay, name kick, strength, then we'll use random num again. And then we'll do one more, their special move. Name, which will be whatever their special is. And the strength of that will be random too. Strength, random num, except this time they can be up to 20. So this is very good odds it'll be very strong. Okay, so they have these 3 attacks. Good, good, good. And then they'll have this dot life, which will always start out at 30. Cool. So those are their basic stats. Now they can attack each other. So let's see here. Attack. And what you do is you're going to pass in the fighter, or the target, whoever you're attacking. Okay. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Now, again, if I want to be extra fancy when I make this, I could always put in my check. So I could be like, if target instance of fighter, so that way I make sure that they have to pass in a fighter. And then I can put like an error message if they don't. But I'm not gonna do the extra coding right now. But just something to think about. Now attack, what's going to happen is that We're going to do damage. Well, first we have to choose a random attack. So the way we will do this is we'll say move. So we have to find an index for which move to use. So we'll say move equals random num, which will be this dot moves dot length. So the length of the array will be the highest number. Okay, so that way we get that. Okay, so move equals random num, this dot moves dot length. So the array, so the index will end up being one of the spots in the array. So then what we'll do is we're going to say target dot life minus equals, because we're going to reduce the life by how much? By a random number that is no higher than the strength of the attack. So random number, which the highest number will be this dot moves actually, let me add an extra step because I do want to keep track of the damage, and I want to make sure I put those in there. Well, actually, I really don't need to do that. Const damage equals. Let me cut this out of here. So first I get the index for which attack they're going to do. Then I get a random number for how much damage they do. Random dot damage. This dot moves. And the index is move. And then I want to use the strength property from that. Dot strength. Okay. And that'll give me a random number no higher than the strength. I want to call that damage. And then we're going to subtract equals the damage. Cool. And that does the stuff, but I want to have a little message kind of summarizing all that. So I'll do console.log. And we will say this dot name attacked target dot name with and then the name of the move that they use with this dot moves move this time dot name this moves for how much damage, for damage leaving them with target dot life. Okay. Okay, so just kind of walk through that logic again. Basically, we're getting a random number, so we can figure out which attack they're going to do, punch, kick, or special. Then we're taking that, the strength of that, and figuring out what's the damage based on a random number based on the strength. Then we're reducing whoever we attack's life by that amount. And then we're just consoling a message summarizing what happened. And I think that's really all I need. So that we've constructed the logic for a fighter and their ability to attack. I don't think we really need much else other than that. So then the next thing is just actually to do the game logic. So let's actually put some comments in here. So this is my random number function. Generally, when you're doing games, random number functions are always very useful. You can create a variety of them, but usually this kind of does the trick. Fighter class. Fighter class for characters. You know, all the characters are going to be fighters, so I just need really one class. And let me actually create my fighters. Okay, let's see here. Let's do const Ken equals new fighter Ken, and let's actually Google what's Ken's special move from Street Fighter. It's been a while. Ken special move Street Fighter. We'll just use Shoryuken. I think they both had that move, so we'll just use that. Ken. There we go. Let me just double check. Name special. Yep, that's my constructor. Good. That'll construct Ken. Const Ryu. New fighter. Ryu. And let's do the same Google search for Ryu. Hadouken. There we go. And there we go. We have our combatants. Okay, so now that we have our two fighters, now we just have to create the logic of them fighting over and over again. Okay. So it's gonna be a while loop. A game is really just one big while loop till the game ends. Okay, we'll worry about the win conditions in a second. I just basically want to set the loop between Ken and Ryu fighting. So let me think how I want to do this. I probably just want to do a toggle. So let me just set up a couple variables. My toggles. Okay. Game over. Okay, we'll just say that starts out as true. So this variable starts out as true. The game's over when this turns to false. We'll figure out when it turns to false later on. So I'll stick that in the while loop. So the game will just keep looping until that becomes false. Okay, and then we'll have, you know, Ken Ryu, meaning is it Ken or Ryu's turn? That will start out as true, and we'll toggle it on and off as the turns change. Cool. And now I just have to do an if else here, an if statement. If Ken Ryu, and then if it's true, it's one of their turns, and when it's false, it's the other person's turn, and this will just keep looping over and over again. Okay. Cool. So essentially what we're going to do here is if it's true, then it is Ken's turn, and we'll just say Ken dot attack Ryu. And when it's not Ken's turn, Ryu will attack Ken. And that'll just keep happening over and over again. At the end of each turn, then we toggle whose turn it is. So we'll say Ken Ryu equals not Ken Ryu, so that way it toggles to the opposite between true and false. Okay, and actually I should probably make these lets, so that way we can toggle them. Let something doesn't feel right. That const is a different color, but we'll cross that bridge. Oh, I put a comma there for some reason. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Save what I got so far. And Ken Ryu, good. And then we'll do our win check. So we'll just say if can.life, that's what I called it, life, this.life equals 30, yep. If can.life is less than or equal than 0, console.log, Ken is dead, Ryu wins, and then game over becomes false, so that the next loop won't run. And it's the same thing if Ryu wins, if Ryu dies. If Ryu's dot life is less than or equal than 0, then console dot log, Ryu is dead, Ken wins. Okay, let me just make sure life is correct. Yep. Yeah, I think it's done. That's it. So basically the logic is the loop will run. It'll check whose turn it is. Whoever's turn it is will attack the other. It'll just keep looping through that. And again, each time it'll toggle on whose turn it is. And until one of them dies. And once one of them dies, it'll change game over to false. Okay, and that's always a good way to catch your errors. Just run back through your logic and run through your code real quick so you can see that it does what you think it does. And then once one of them dies, game over equals false. So then on the next loop, this is done and the game's done. Okay, so save. Let's run this. Node testing.js. Okay. Now see, we have an error, so leaving them with nan. So that means I'm not getting the life property right somewhere. So let's take a look. That's why it's not ending, because their life is never hitting 0. Because I'm not making any actual change to nan if their life is showing up that way. So let's see here. How do I have it in this thing here? For target.life. Here, Ryu with can attack Ryu with punch for 0 damage, leaving them, and it was always for not always for 0 damage, but let's just take a look at the output real quick. Occasionally you got those special moves, Hadouken, Shuriken, leaving them with nan. So that's what we need to examine. Target.life. So this dot life equals 30. So there should be a property called this life. And target.life was minus equals damage. Is there any reason why either damage or we subtracted is a string? Not seeing it yet. Let me do this. I want a console.log target. I want to see what target looks like when I run this, to see why that is coming up as nan. Something's going wrong with the calculation. Okay, stop. Stop. Let's take a look. Ryu life nan. Okay, so let's see if I can get to the beginning. It's the very first time they attacked each other. Why is it becoming nan? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make this Boolean false right away. At the end of the first loop, just to do a test. So that we don't have to loop over and over again. Oh, let me go to the previous one. go. Let's run that. So it starts out as 30. Can attack Ryu Shoryuken for Nan damage. Okay, so that's where something's going wrong. So let's go take a look. Because if you do something minus Nan, that's going to turn into Nan. So something's going wrong with the strength. So let's walk through this logic. Okay, because I mean the random number functions work, and we can kind of see that in that those numbers are being assigned. This step moves that length. It's getting an attack. That's definitely working. That's strength. Random num. This step moves. That's strength. Let's console this and the target, so we can see both. But the damage is Nan. Const damage equals random num. This dot moves. Which would be this. And the is array. We have a random index, which we got from over here. Dot strength. 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 Ah. Here we go. One of the strengths is not typed correctly, so that was going to give it undefined, and that would create Nan. So let's try that again. That looks a lot better. Okay, so let's get rid of this line over here that we added. That kind of terminates the loop on the first run. Save. Make this bigger so we can kind of see a game play out. And there we go. Ken is dead. Ryu wins. So we can actually now see the attack happen. Okay. Let's see where this started. But you see, like, can attack Ryu with a kick for 0 damage. And actually, let me just get rid of those console logs. That's right over here. Okay, so this time Ryu wins, and then we see, yeah, we can see their life go down. And Ken finished off, Ryu finished off Ken with a Hadouken right there at the very end. Nice. So quick punch, 2 damage, leaving him with 14 damage. So yeah, it's like a little mini sort of game. You can say you could be Streetfighter. Now, if you set it up where you could take like command line instruction, you could actually have them choose what their attack is, and you know, go from there. But I can quickly set up all my fighters that way, and yeah, this just sort of illustrates you sort of the power of classes and game, and then just a little bit of how you think about game logic. Again, all a game always is just a while loop that runs until the condition of ending the game happens, and then you just build the logic for the game. But again, always just build all your pieces above. So I built my characters, I set up my random number function, and then I created my 2 toggles. Or my 2 toggles right here. These are my 2 characters. Okay, and then yeah, that's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys in the next video.